Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. I'm Coach Gino, and alongside is Super Coach Coach Ken. Super Coach, how are you doing today?
We are continuing to keep America safe for capitalism, as well as promoting and protecting the motive power.
Love it. Excellent. Excellent. Super Coach, good to have you on duty. So, Super Coach, today's a different podcast for us today, different format. We're going to field some questions from our listeners
Awesome.
and let's see how it goes. And let's go one question at a time, and we'll go until we run out of questions. How's that sound?
That's good, Now, I love and appreciate listener feedback. It just makes this whole process that much more worthwhile to know that we're touching people across the country and people are actually taking the time to send us questions. And I think these on the road are some from somebody in Kansas. I think we got Kansas, Texas,
Yeah,
Virginia,
they're from all over the
Idaho.
place. Yeah.
That's
Who
awesome.
knows? I may even have my own questions for you to answer. Let's see if you can answer
From
them.
Massachusetts, no less, too.
Yeah,
Okay.
some tough Northeast questions. All right. I'll start you out with some other ones. So this question comes in that Missouri area. So the question is, when reading the 10x rule again, because we did 10x last year in peerage, we've also been recommending the book 10x. This listener and this client comes up with a lot of great ideas, but the follow through is not there. They get distracted. So, how does someone correct that? How does someone not get distracted?
Well, not getting distracted is not easy. But let's address the whole like getting a lot of ideas first. Like, some people just generate a tremendous amount of ideas and then they jump from concept to concept to concept. There's nothing wrong with generating ideas. The only coaching would be to make sure that you're committing them to paper. You put them on paper. Each day you come up with an idea, put it on paper. Do not implement the idea immediately. Simply put it on paper. Then perhaps, or ideally, when you're having a think time or at the end of the week, pull out that list and look at all those ideas. And then simply discern all of the 5, the 10, the 50, the 100 ideas that you have on that paper, which one would be most impactful? Like, which is the singularity? Which is the one? And then once you identify that one, brainstorm a little bit around it, get some basic ideas, next steps, and then if possible, delegate it to someone. Put somebody else in charge of it, because then that increases the probability that it gets done. So if you're an idea generator, just tell the truth. Sometimes there are people who implement, sometimes there are people who administrate, sometimes there are people who manage, and then sometimes there are people that generate, right? The ideation, if you will. Right. There's one wonderful thing that Coach John always says is the truth shall set you free. So understand who you are and then operate appropriately.
Got it. Love it. So some prioritization has to happen there too, right? Prioritizing the ideas and then figuring out which ones are really truly the ones that you want to move forward to, and then delegate.
Delegate to time, to people, or to technology. Because the hard truth is, you have a career, you have a lot going on. So this idea is, how do you create the space to move something forward? And the laziest way, which is actually the right way, the laziest way to move the ball forward is to delegate it.
Got it. All right. Awesome. All right, let's get another question. So let's see. This is still on the next topic. So if one were to put in 10x the effort to be successful, what does that mean exactly? What does that look like? And they also mentioned the question, we've talked about this A activities. So does that mean more A activities? So, how would you field that question?
So let's get a little bit more back on the whole 10x concept, right? So the whole 10x concept is simply to get you think in a new realm of possibility. So let's make believe you make $150,000 a year. And so just make believe, maybe you make more, maybe you make less, doesn't matter. But take that number and multiply it times 10. Okay, so in the next year, you're going to make $1.5 million. Now, you may sit back and scratch your head like, man, how the hell would I do that? I couldn't do that. So once you say I couldn't do that, you're right. You can't. Right? Once you say, hey, I can't do that, you're right. But let's try on a different hat and say, okay, what if it was possible, like for you to 10 times your income in a year, what would you need to do? Now, you don't have to do it, right? There's no gun to your head. It's just simply beginning to play in the realm of possibility to get you to think. right? To get you to think. And I was talking about this. If we were going to 10 times our revenue at getting results, what we would need, we probably need a chief marketing officer, right? Someone in charge of the marketing, consistently putting a message. Okay, now I wasn't thinking about that until I said, okay, we're going to 10 times our revenue. Notice it just simply creates a possibility. Now that possibility may die on the sword, if you will, but once it's put on paper, you now have a place that continue to look at to remember what needs to be remembered. And it'll be amazing on what could unfold from that. Like imagine for all of you, like what if you had a full-time person that simply worked on your marketing or worked on your finances or worked on your web presence or worked on whatever that thing is, that more than likely is that key or potential key to 10xing your income. Now, there's another thing about this. Does this require me to do 10 times the amount of effort? Now, I'm sure you've heard this before out there in your existences that somebody says, I mean, maybe it's Rob Johnson, maybe it's the other guy who says, no, man, I will outwork everybody in the room. I don't care what they do. I'm just going to outwork everybody. And maybe a couple of you yahoos think the same way, that you're going to outwork everybody. Cute, cute. But let's change that a little bit. How about this one? How about you use your brains? How about you outsmart everybody in the room instead of outworking everybody in the room? Outsmarting. Friends.
On that note, it makes sense that you're going to need to do that too. So, because to 10x something versus say 1x or 2x something, the possibilities of what you need to do to be able to 10x versus x become very slim and and this might help answer that question is there aren't as many options to get to x when you're going after 10x. It's really one or two possibilities to go down that path to get there where 1x you probably have a billion different possibilities to take on to get there. It's about really discerning what are those one or two things that will help you get to 10x. It's not doing more work, it is being smarter about where you're going to go down that path to get to 10x.
Yeah, what is the probability stack, right? Remember, if you listen to our stuff, there are no guarantees, but you can stack probabilities in your favor. Just like if you wanted to make an extra 20% next year, you would say, okay, I got to go see X more clients. I mean, there's a formula to make it to 20%. Okay. But to go 10 times that, or that's 1,000%, I believe, it requires a different level of thinking. And that's what Gina's trying to get to is that it narrows your scope. So instead of 10,000 choices, you now have one, two.
Right. Yep. Yep. Good stuff. So the answer to the question is it's really not about doing more activities. It's about really discerning and prioritizing what is that one or two thing that you're going to do to drive the 10x. So,
It was correct. Well, even if we go into the realm of A activities, right? A activities, A people, A places. So frame it this way. Imagine you have a certain A activity, right? Whatever that A activity. For me, I like sporting clays. I like shooting shotguns. Okay, that's an A activity for me. Now, if I say, okay, how could I 10x that activity? Like, what would that look like? Now that I'm starting to think, I'm like, wow, dove hunting in Argentina would be a 10x of that A activity. And then dove hunting in Argentina, but dove hunting with our champion relationships, prospects, leaders of firms. I mean, that is a level like, that can get more exciting. Like one of our clients was really excited about traveling, and he's like, what if I 10x the travel concept? What becomes available to me if I raise the bar that much higher? Now, I know probably a lot of you golf, right? Golf. So think about in golf world, however, whatever your experience of golf is right now, think of it like, wow, how could I times it times 10? Like, what
mm,
would that look like? Would that be going to the waste management thing in Arizona? Or you got a bunch of buddies and clients and friends, and you're going to go to Scotland or Ireland for 2 weeks to go hit golf balls, whatever you golfers do. If you dance in that realm of possibility, the abilities of achievement will begin to present themselves to you. So I keep hearing amongst our clients and our people, even our coaches, is that people like to be around people who are up to stuff, right? Up to stuff. One thing, playing on the golf at your local municipal golf course, cool, nothing wrong with that. But a different experience if you're golfing in Scotland, right? But some of you are like, oh, I can't do that. I can't afford it. Well, yeah, of course you can't afford it right now. What if you could? How could you afford it?
Awesome, Super Coach. All right, let's go back to A activities because we've gotten a few questions on that one. So Super Coach, how does one identify what their A activities are? And let's see, let's actually expand it out. A people, A places. How do we address that?
So we can think about B, and C, D. It's a very simple way of discernment, of labeling things, of putting a label on stuff. I know you're not supposed to label things, and everybody's saying everything is equal. That's just obviously not true, and you know that. So stop fooling yourself. There are certain things, certain places, certain people that call to you. There are things that you like to do. So you have the ability to choose. You have this thing called free. Some of you really like golf. Many of you do not like golf, but many of you pick up golf because rich people golf. That's a red flag, right? Red flag. Because anytime that you're doing something that you don't like to do or that you're pretending, okay, now pretend. We've talked about this in the past. I know I read an article about this or we did a podcast on it. Pretending. Okay, do you get paid to pretend? Are you Brad Pitt? Are you an actor? No. Do you make hundreds of millions of dollars a year? No. Okay. So you suck at pretending. You're not a good actor. So authenticity actually sells. Authenticity is what all of us are normally good at. So the distinction is choose the activities that you like to do. Okay, now we can look at a business. You can break it down depending on what stage of your career that you're in. There are different levels of A activities. If you're beginning, if you're just a rookie in the business, an A activity for you would be prospecting, knocking on doors, picking up phone calls, getting phone lists, surviving in the business. Now, if you're thriving in the business, you can go back and read our article, Four Stages of a Financial Advisor's Practice. If you're thriving, okay, thriving, the distinction is now you're clear on who your clients are, who your ideal client is. Okay, these are the people that you're around. You're doing the things that are in alignment with you. Okay. Mastery is often about developing others, right? Making sure that your systems and your structures, right? That's a different level of A activity. And then finally, on that level of purposefulness. Okay. Like we'll have clients contemplating, right? Well, actually, we do have other clients building churches down in Haiti, right? Doing God's work. That's a level of an A activity because that A activity, once again, calls to you. Right? It wasn't a place. It's a place that calls to you. Okay, there's neutral places, a gas station, right? It's a neutral place. So let's go to a gas station, right? Now that's a pretty boring concept, right? A gas station. Like, can you literally have an A level gas station? A gas station that you're like, oh my God, dude, you gotta go to this gas station because the gas is so cool or the store is cool. Now, really, could there be a such thing as a gas station, an A level gas station? And if you think about it a little bit, maybe one comes to mind, or perhaps you've never been to Buc-ee's. If you ever go to Buc-ee's, you will discover, man, this is an A-level gas station. So what does that simply mean? All gas stations are not equal. Some are more equal than others. But to figure out the more equal than others, you have to discern. You have to use your frontal lobe. You got to think. Now, some of you may hate Buc-ee's, but if any of you have been to Buc-ee's, you know what I'm talking about. It's America.
Super Coach. So what are the qualities that help you discern whether something's an A activity or not? Because, obviously someone might be saying, well, TV, that's an A activity, but is it? So what would be some of the qualities that help someone discern whether something's an A activity or not?
That's a good distinction. Well, I keep going back to this idea that it calls to you. Can that TV be an A activity? Yes. If you have discerned, right, you are consciously choosing to watch a particular show. You're consciously watching, say, How to Become a Dictator on Netflix, which you should watch. It's kind of funny. That's an A level activity, right? Once again, it comes back to the discernment. Does it enrich and reward you? Does it call to you? And A activities don't have to be complex. They could be you go for a walk. And even then, you can make a discernment there. Okay, you go for a walk where? Around the block? Okay, that's better than nothing. But is there a park that you prefer? Along the beach? Now, what would be better? Walking on your street or walking along the beach? Hopefully, you can begin to see there's a level of discernment there. I would prefer to walk along the beach, right? So we go walking, so that's the first cut. Second cut, I'm walking along the beach. Now we can turn it even into a higher impactful level is that you're walking along the beach with an A level person.
Mm.
Once again, an A-level person calls to you. That could be your spouse. It could be your chief executive officer. It could be a great client, a great prospect that you're both sharing in this experience because the activity and the place are elevating the conversation. Okay, on a deeper level, your environment co-creates you. Think about doing business at the garbage dump. You probably would never bring a prospect to the garbage dump to sign paperwork or to talk about their financial future, unless they own the garbage. Like
I was just gonna
you
say,
just
unless
know
they
that
own that garbage dump and they're
unless you right, unless they own it, but more than likely you're not choosing it. You're not going to a jail cell to go write a ticket or go figure out a financial plan in a jail cell or the DMV or most other government institutions. Not A places. They don't call to you. But there are some other places that literally call to you. That could be your office. A lot of times it doesn't, but it could be, right? Your office, your house. There's a place in your town or your neighborhood. There's just certain places that you're playing an advantage. The club, the Queen Club in Boston, plug the Queen Club in Boston. If anyone's ever been there, it's an amazing place, right? Or there's Yacht Club in Sarasota, amazing place. Okay, there's just certain places that raise the level, if you will.
yeah, so call to you, raise your level. They grow you, they
The
develop you,
energy.
they nourish you, they really improve your way of
Mm-hmm.
life for you.
Mm-hmm. Right, but attitude, it's an additive that you feel better. Like if you go to like a gym, for me, the gym or CrossFit, right? It is not a pretty place, but it is an A place, right? And it's an A activity because every time I leave it, I feel better, I feel enriched, I know I've taken ground, I've improved.
Yep. Yep.
A place. I just went to the coaches retreat, the Russian baths doing ice and sauna, steam right? All of it, right? Every place with every people and activity, right? Raises the level of not only of energy, but probability, accelerating likability and trust. We could go into the whole intensity concept around that of brainwashing for fun and profit. There is a lot of stuff going on underneath the hood when you're aware of A people, A places, and A activities.
Love it. So super coach, let's say someone comes up with, their list of A activity, A places, A people. How do they discern which ones they should do on a daily basis? Let's say they're pretty busy people. So, do I do them
And
all?
perhaps
Like, how do I do that?
question. The things that we try to share with it, we do share with our clients that there's an intellectual understanding of things and then a visceral understanding of things. And what we like to teach is the visceral level because once you get it in your gut, you understand. And so what we will help people do is very simply once a week, maybe twice a month, let's identify your A place, your A people, and your A activity, and just simply do it and notice what happens. Just notice, you feel it. Right? Let's make believe you really like to bowl for whatever reason. You're a bowler, and then not only do you really like to bowl, but in your town or city, there's a really cool bowling alley. There's smoke, lasers, whatever it is. And you actually go there and bowl with an A-level person, like with one of your awesome clients, and you just go bowl. Should I talk about business? No. Just go and bowl. And just notice how the relationship shifts after the event, after the discernment of the A activity with the A person and the A place. It's a game. It's a game changer. If you really want to crush it in business, this little concept will help you crush it in every aspect of your life. Right. And
Awesome.
another high level A person are your coaches.
Yes.
If you're confused about that, let me clarify. If you're A level people watching and listening to our podcast would be an A activity because that would be training and developing and feeding your mind. Coming to the peers would be an A activity with A people at an A place because Sarasota in February is absolutely beautiful. And it's a probability stack because now you're also around massively successful people who are up to stuff. That idea called community. If you go back and listen to podcasts in the 30 episodes, the power of community. All probability stacks in your favor. Right? Are they guarantees? No, right? But there are probabilities, right? But remember, if things work for bad, like your mother probably told you this one day. I know my mom told me this. She said, Kenny, Don't hang out with those boys. You're going to get in trouble. And what did I do? I hung out with those boys and I'm in trouble. So if you hang out with bad people, bad things usually happen. So conversely, if you hang out with good people, good things happen.
Yes, indeed. All right, I got one more listener question, then if after that we can make our own up, I guess. But
Look at
this
this.
one is Super Coach, I get busy and I can get overwhelmed. What do I do when I get overwhelmed? How do I get out of that?
You're not going to like the answer that I say this. And it's every time one of my clients tells me they're in an overwhelmed situation, I say the following. I'm going to say this with a lot of love, and I'm coming from love. The reason why you're overwhelmed is because you're not thinking. You are not discerning. Because it's very easy to fall under the illusion that everything is important. And if we look at the law of unequal distribution, everything cannot be important. There are some things that are more important than others. And so how do you figure that out? You got to discern. You got to push, like literally, fast exercise. You push back from your desk. You're feeling overwhelmed. Instead of looking at your list, begin to write down all the stuff that you got to do, right? Just get out of your head. Right, once again, get out of your head. Now, an amazing thing will happen. As you're getting it out of your head and you're writing on paper, you're going to feel your stress level begin to de-escalate. Right? It's going to begin to de-escalate for a very simple reason. You're turning formlessness or your nutty stuff going around in your head into form, into language, right? That you're actually putting on a piece of paper and that your subconscious mind is beginning to organize and stuff, right? And file away, right? Your brain does work that fast. And then once you're clear on that list, you just simply ask yourself, what's most important? And also give yourself the grace that what is most important may have nothing to do with business. It could be that you got to call your doc to get your meds updated. All right, then do that. Or you got to change the oil on the car. But I'm in the office. I can't go change the oil in the car. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because it's blocking. Remember, your most important business tool is that thing in between your ears. And if that thing in between your ears is jumbled, wacky, foggy, dusty, whatever we want to call it, you can't be as productive. So, but if you clean that up, then you can be productive.
Love it. Just got creative for myself here with an idea. I think we're going to have a section of our podcast, or maybe just every so often, we'll do a podcast episode, Ask Super Coach. So for those listeners listening to this one, if you like this section that we just did and asking questions and getting your questions answered, email us, go to the website. You can respond to out in the podcast, send us a message, ask us some questions, let us know what you want to hear from us, and we can respond. Ask Super Coach section every so often, or maybe we'll do it, each podcast we'll carve out some time. What do you think, Super Coach?
That'd be awesome. And there's a tremendous amount of value in simply writing down a question.
Mm.
Even if you never submit it, even if you never hear our voices addressing it, your brain and your mind is going to begin to find and search and seek for answers. But then if you share it with us, that seeking will then be accelerated. See, here's an interesting thing about most men in general. It's often very difficult for us to ask for help, right? Or to show that we don't know the answer, or that we can't do it ourselves, or we're just going to work hard, right? So it reminds me of the kid or the young man out in Texas who's carrying the weight of this world, the world on his shoulders, right? And just, and I still see him. Hopefully he knows who he is, and hopefully he's listening. Asking for help and realizing that you don't know it all is okay. It really is okay. Because here's a cool thing about men or about all of us in general. We want to help.
Mm.
We give you the idea, right? It's, and what's really cool conversation, like when we had a coaches retreat, we had this idea we had coaches and cocktails, right? So we're having a few Manhattans on where there's four of us, five of us, so the coaches are, and we just had some great conversations there, but also in being vulnerable to each other and saying, okay, where do you need help? Where do you want to grow? And there's that idea about being around A-level people, right? Who are the people that you surround yourself with? Now, it's cool to listen to us on the podcast. Great. That is an activity going in the right direction. But if you'd really like to accelerate, be in the presence of us, right? Create a relationship with a coach, right? Create a relationship with the Getting Results community. It's one of the fastest ways to accelerate your existence. Like even for us, even the coaches, we have we speak at least once a week, and we meet once a year. We meet multiple times a year. But now we're running this whole thing called Misogis, right, which are just very hard physical challenges. And like one of our guys, Coach John, lives in Gloucester, Newburyport, Massachusetts. Like it's
Right.
winter there. It's super winter. And he's like, dude, I'm doing Misogi. Or like, what are we doing? I'll tell you in the morning. And so what he does is, I guess he goes out with his son and he goes and jumps in the ocean and it's 8 degrees and he sits in there for at least a minute, right? Now, some of you may be going, that is crazy. Why would someone do that? Well, it's for a very simple reason, because it's hard. Because like he said, and this is true for all of us, the hardest part was the conversation in my head before I went into the water. And so this is one of those reasons it's that challenge to do hard things, right? Even Coach Gino this weekend is the 500 push-up challenge, right? Like, why is he doing it? I don't know, but he's choosing to. Why? Because it's hard, right? It's hard, and then what's on the other side of that? And so all of this stuff is raising the level for all of us. Now I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to play along? What is that next level for me? And there's power in that conversation. And just like there's power around people who have $1 billion practice, right? Who've built an amazing business in life, who can show you what's possible. Because sometimes you can just sit back and like, man, if he could do it, maybe I can. And what's even cooler is that they'll help you along. They'll say, okay, you're going to go into the ocean. Here's what you should do first. Being a guide. The
Yeah.
magic works, people. The magic works. So I can't compel you. What can I ask? I can't compel. I can't compulse. What can I do? Cajole. I could cajole. I can't. Let's see. I can invite. That's too soft of a word.
Encourage.
Courage. Encourage. Encourage. Change your life.
Yeah.
Getting results coaching.
Yeah.
Impact will be exponential. It just requires 10 or 11 minutes of your time to fill out the personal assessment. And then you'll have a conversation with us to make sure that you're the right fit. We're the right fit for you. And even if you're not the right fit, you're going to get a lot of value from the conversation itself. So if you
No
really
doubt.
want to bring your business to the next level, get the assessment. Why do you listen to all these podcasts? Then, okay, next level, brother.
Yeah.
Come on
Awesome.
board.
Yeah, for those of you, if you want to learn more about Misogis, purchase the book The Comfort Crisis by Michael
Mhm.
Easter. Great book, and you'll learn there's two rules to a Misogi. One is it's got to be really hard, and there's a 50% chance you're not going to get it done. The second rule, don't die. So we'll leave you with that, and that's something that we are all challenging ourselves with on a regular basis. Super Coach, this has been great. I'm liking this format. We'll have to definitely do this more often. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. We're ready for the questions and we will answer them to the best of our ability. And we won't go to ChatGPT.
Perfect. Yeah, whatever that is. All right. To our listeners, if you enjoyed our podcast today and got value from it, please be sure to follow, share our podcast with those that you know. Hit the like button, subscribe, right? Give us a rating or send us some questions. We want to hear from you. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, gettingresultsinc.com under the resources tab. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.